Welcome back to the Eastern Plains of Colorado here on McCaffrey Farms. Let's get to the video. But before we do, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Be sure to like the video and ring the bell icon. That will notify you when I post videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But let's get to the video. We're going to be hooking up to the subsoiler here. We got to undo these latches, open them up. So in that way, these bars can sit down in the 3-point and we can hook it up. Got it on the 3-point, so now what we do, hit those down, those deals go back over, and that's what helps keep the subsoiler on the 3-point. Then we lower it down into the ground, and it just keeps it from coming up off. We'll do this one, and I'll probably need to put some air in these tires because they're flat again. I'll do this one, probably go put air in those tires. We already hit our first little bump in this project that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna have to get our money back on one of these points. Went to put air in those tires and something looked funky. Sure enough, something was funky. Brand new, not even put in the ground yet. Chunk of the 1 point's already broken. We're gonna get the impact, change that out real quick, and go start on our project that we're gonna do. There wasn't much to do on what we're doing. What we're doing is, in one of my earlier videos, I need a socket first. Hold on. Anywho, what we're doing, in my last video, I kind of talked about it a little bit. There is a spot in the quarter of ground that is just east of our house that, in the corner of it, it hasn't ever been farmed for a while. And that's because we used to rent some of our neighbors' corn stalks and we quit renting it. And that was where we watered the cows when we rented the circle. And so we had it fenced off and there's a waterer there. But since we're not doing that anymore, a few days ago when Dad took all the fence out, he also took that out. We're gonna go take this down, rip it up, and then the next time we work it, we're gonna include that little part and get us a little more farm ground. Got that point changed. I'm gonna head over there and start tearing this up a little bit. So this is what I was talking about. There's not much here, so we won't be gaining a whole lot, but you know, it's ground that we own. We're not using it for what it was originally used for, and there's farm ground right here. So we may as well use it and farm on it because that's just that little bit more ground that we can raise crop on. In the end, it won't make a huge difference, but it will be nicer because it's always been kind of annoying having to farm around it on the edge. So then this way we'll be able to farm straight through. One thing is you can see the waterer is still right there. But for now, we're just gonna go around that. It's not very far from the edge, and that'll still allow it to where if we wanna plant triticale or wheat or something on this and graze cows and maybe even calve out on it, we'll still have water source for them to drink from that we won't have to haul to. So that's why we're gonna leave it there. Then we can always fence the whole thing off and have quite a bit more room to pasture the cows. But I don't know what the depth is gonna be like on this. We're just gonna have to put it in the ground and see if the tractor will pull it. And if the tractor will pull it, we'll go deeper. If it can't, we'll raise it up a little bit. Because we've had to change it a little bit since the last time we used it. This was the only time we ever used a 3-point, was for subsoiling, but since we have our planter now, and then we also cultivated, we had to change the height that the 3-point goes to when we set it down, so we don't know exactly where it's at. I think it's in the general position from where it was used last year, if not maybe shallower, so should be good. Like I said, won't do any harm. We can always change it. That's how we figured the depth out anyways. All right, so I got the auto steer set. I'll set an AB line on this side. This way I'll be able to skip a few passes or a pass in between. That just helps the subsoiler pull a little more even. whereas if you do back to back to back, it's looser on one end because you've already broke the compaction. So this way it should pull a lot more even, and then I can go back and fill in the passes that I skipped. All right, I think I got it set pretty good. Everything looks good. It's doing a pretty dang good job. This one here would be the one where the tractor wasn't going. You can't even really tell. And it all looks like it's doing pretty good. It's a little iffy in some spots, but for the most part it's working the way it should. I'm gonna set the point B, get the line set up, and then I'll finish this up real quick. So this is what I was meaning by skipping a row. I did that first pass there, skipped one, did this one, skipped, did that one, came back along that side. Now I'm filling in. That just allows it to pull more evenly because there's the same amount of compaction on each side of the subsoiler. That's how I've always done it when we have went back and forth. But after this, I just got one more pass, and then I'll clean up the edges a little bit more, and that'll be good. And I'll probably move over to the circle because it's still a little early tonight, still plenty of light out, so might try to get a start on that for tomorrow and get as much done as we can as quick as we can. All right, so I kind of cleaned up this end a little bit, left a bit of a gap there, no one tell, but it ripped up pretty dang good, especially here on this end. I'm gonna head over to the circle. 6:45 right now, still got an hour, probably about an hour maybe of daylight. So gonna go over there, try and knock out a few rounds, and then probably get at it extra early tomorrow in the morning and try and get that done as much as we can. Okay, got the auto steer set up. I'm here at the sprinkler, backed up where I need to be. First, I'm gonna go on this side of this sprinkler track, and then once I get back over here on the other side of the sprinkler, I'm gonna go on the other side, and then I'll do the next pass here, and then I'll jump back over and work along there all the way to the next sprinkler track. And then we repeat that process for every track. And then the two inner tracks, as you'll see later on in the video, we go back and forth just because it gets to be so tight of a turn. It's probably a little hard on the subsoiler, and it's just a little quicker to go back and forth. But like I said, you'll see that later in the video. Let's get to subsoil in a circle. All right, got everything going. Doing the first round after the track, so I'm able to use the auto steer. The reason that we don't go over the track is, one, where we go round and round, if we get down in that track, I think it can kind of pull the sprinkler all funky and mess up the way it tracks. Number two, it also breaks that compaction up like it's supposed to, but under the track you don't want that quite as much, because then that allows it to get stuck more. The sprinkler digs down a lot deeper, and so it's more likely to get stuck when you go like that. We've always went round and round even before auto steer, before we had it, so that's just how we continue to do it. New lights are doing pretty good. These ones are set pretty well. The behind would be a lot better if we got that light and that light on LED, because then those ones we could point more towards the middle, and then those ones I think they go out a little farther. That one's pointed pretty good. That one's pointed pretty good as well. That one, the light still works. It's actually kind of shining up into the cab right now. We just have it hanging down. That one's doing pretty good. It's a little more farther up and in. So far they look pretty good. It's a huge difference between the normal lights. I don't know if you guys could tell that, but I think if we put LED light bulbs in the rest, that'll really light things up. I'm pretty impressed with how it looks so far. Like I said, sometime we can adjust them and mess with them a little bit, point them more in the direction we want, and it'll be even better once we get them all to LED, because then we'll really have some good surrounding light. I'm glad we put them on. Hopefully we can get these other ones out some other time and find some LED light bulbs for them and get some in those as well. That shank is probably the best example of what you want. Just barely a slit in the ground. Can't even really tell. But overall, it's doing a pretty dang good job, and I'm happy with it right now, and I'm sure Dad would be happy with it too. Good morning. Welcome back. It's another day. We're gonna throw some grease into the 8400, and we're gonna get back subsoiling. Didn't do it yesterday. Today is Saturday because Dad and I made a trip. We picked something up for this spring, so you guys will have to stay tuned. Be sure to catch that video here shortly. If you saw one of my last videos, I believe it was the one where I put lights on the tractor. I'll put a card to that one. I hope you guys can see me. It's kind of dark in here. I thought I'd turn the light on. But it's one of the one surprise that I was talking about that I can confirm. We have it here now. I'll try my best not to show it off too early. Try and keep it out of the background. I probably won't do very good at that. But first, we're gonna get the grease gun out. It's empty. I used it last when we went to go disc those tracks. Used it on the discs and it ran out. So need to put more in. I'm just gonna do the front end, the wheels on the tractor, because that's gonna be what has been used most. 3-point we haven't really used that much. I just did, I think, 3 or 4 passes around the circle, so haven't been used much, and those will be fine for today. But I'm gonna get the front end greased, and then we'll be good to start the tractor up and get back to farming. Like I said, I'm gonna get back to this. Have most of the day to do this. Should be able to get quite a bit done. I'm gonna do this last pass around the outside, and then I'll start working in. Once I get this one done, each round's just gonna get shorter and shorter. Getting a pretty good start. 6:37 right now. Backed up to the sprinkler. I just gotta wait for this to start, and then once it gets started and I can get everything lined up right, we'll be good to go, and we'll see how much of this we can get subsoiled today. So our farming didn't last long. I have to take that off because it came off, and we have to take one of them off because it already went out, which we knew there's one that was questionable. Probably should have changed it right then. We wanted to leave it on as long as we could, so now there's one that Dad's got it inside working on it, so I'm gonna take this in. We're gonna start taking it apart, replace that one. I have the lugs off on this, but it's not wanting to come off quite yet. But I'm gonna take this into Dad, and then we'll start taking that other one apart and deal with this after that.
I think that's pretty close.
new tire. The other one we just put a tube in it. We got the one bearing changed on the Coulter. So now we're gonna head back out and go start farming again. Welcome back, good morning. Up a little bit early. Gonna try and get this circle done today. I don't know how much is left. Last night I worked as dark. It's kind of hard to tell where I was in the one spot, in the one section. So I think I probably should be around halfway done with that one. And then from there I think there'll be 2 more that I have to go around. And then the other 2 we go back and forth. Then from there we move the sprinkler and then fill in where the sprinkler was, and we'll be done. And then once we get done, we're gonna hook up to our sweep, go over the circle and then the quarter over here, and then from there we'll see what we do next. It's about 10:30 right now. Been working on this for quite a bit this morning. Starting to get a lot more done because the rounds are getting shorter, but I'm doing my first pass in this last section. We call them lands, but as you can see, I'm in between the 2nd and 3rd tower. This is the last span that we go round and round, simply because the last 2 in the middle are very sharp turns, and it's probably not the best for that thing, and it's probably a little quicker to go back and forth like we will be. But I got the one done around the track, and now I'm actually starting the go round and round until the next track. Then once we get the back and forth passes done, we'll go along where the sprinkler is right now. And speaking of which, I don't know if you can see it, but Dad, he's over there somewhere. I don't know if you can see it, but he is working on a sprinkler right now. He's checking all the gearboxes and the oil in them, draining the water out of those, filling them back up to the top, making sure they're good to go. That way when we need to move this sprinkler here after lunch and finish this up, it'll be ready to go. And then also once we plant our feed, that'll already be done, and all we'll have to do is probably will have to go through and check the air in the tires, but that will be it since Dad's doing that right now. But for now, we're gonna work on getting this finished up real quick. As you can see, I started this last pass around the last sprinkler track. Dad's on the last tower right there. Said for the most part, all of them have been pretty good. But once I get this done, I'm gonna go around that last track, and then I'll start going back and forth. And then from there, once I get that done, once I get over to the sprinkler and get one half of the sides done, we'll be able to start the sprinkler, getting it moving. Then that way, do the other half, and then we'll be able to do the longer runs where the sprinkler is currently sitting, and then we'll have this knocked out and we'll be ready to move on to the next job. Real quick, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of idea what this does. So these points that we just put on, what they do is they go way down in the ground. With these points where there's a hard spot, or what is sometimes called a hard pan, it goes and breaks that down. Later in the video, you should be able to see it'll just kind of barely lift the soil up and set it back down. That's all the disturbance it really should do. Ours does a little bit more, simply because I think it's old and it doesn't work 100%. And these points go right where the compaction is, and it helps break that up. That's important because when it's packed down like that, it can affect the soil growth, and it doesn't allow as much water to soak into the soil. With the roots of your plants, if it's packed closer to the surface, it can affect the way the roots grow, and it makes them grow more out and not down. And that's kind of one of the more important parts of the roots, is how deep it can go. That's what helps it reach more moisture. The farther down it can go, the more moisture it reaches. And then also where it allows it to soak in more water, it can build the soil, or the water profile in the soil more. So that's why we do this, especially on this circle where we ran about 90 head of cows on it for quite a while. The surface you know, it's pretty soft. But once you kind of start getting down, it does get a little bit harder, especially farther down than you could dig with your feet like I just did. So that's what we use this for, because as you can see, we're going pretty deep. I'd say the actual surface of the ground is probably about right here. So we're running it pretty deep, and that just helps break that compaction up and makes the ground better to grow crops in. So now what I'm doing, I'm heading to the edge of the field, and what I'm gonna do is, since I have the back and forth done on those last two spans, I'm gonna come down to the edge of the field. I'm gonna finish going around the tracks where I need to, so in that way I know where I need to start lifting up a little bit, so in that way we don't make it to where the sprinkler can dig way down when we're watering it and get stuck in this area. So I'm gonna go do 2 passes on each side of the sprinkler tracks all the way back down to the pivot. And then what I'm gonna do from there is I'll start filling in this big white spot that hasn't been worked yet, and then we'll be done. Dad's heading out to shut the sprinkler off or stop it moving because I'm on the far side and I didn't want to take this clear through the field. But I got that done. So thank you for watching the video. If you're still here, be sure to drop a like on the video. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. It's free and I appreciate it. Let's help bump those numbers up some. And also be sure to ring the bell icon. That'll notify you when I post videos, so then you guys don't miss any. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.